In this video, I'm going to demonstrate the deployment of Cumulative Update 5 on my Exchange 2013 servers. So as I said in the previous video, I'm deploying Cumulative Update 5 because that happens to be the latest one that has been released by Microsoft just this week. But you can follow this process for any service pack or cumulative update that is released later on, depending on when you're working through these training lessons. So on my server, I've already downloaded the Cumulative Update 5 setup files and I've extracted them into this folder here on my C drive. And I have an Exchange Management Shell open and I'm ready to go now. I've also done all the other preparation tasks mentioned in the previous video. So my Active Directory has been backed up, my Exchange servers have been backed up, and I don't have any customizations to my OWA config files or any registry changes or third-party integrations that I need to worry about in this test lab environment, so nothing to document there. This is a HA deployment. I have 2 client access servers in my test lab environment. If I was using a load balancer to distribute traffic between those 2 client access servers, I would want to remove or drain this server from the load balancer before I begin my maintenance. So that's something that would be done on the load balancer itself, and you may do that several hours before you perform the maintenance to allow those connections to be dropped off and routed to the other client access servers that are available. If we're using DNS round robin, as we are in this test lab environment, you can simply remove this server's IP address from the DNS records for your various namespaces such as Outlook Anywhere. And again, you can do that maybe an hour in advance of your server maintenance so that all your clients will be connecting to the other available server. And you just need to remember after performing the maintenance to add that DNS record back in, or in the case of a load balancer, to re-enable that server in your pool of servers that the load balancer is using. So let's focus on the actual Exchange update tasks now. And we can do these tasks in the Exchange Management Shell. First thing we need to do here is to drain the active queues from the hub transport services. So we're going to run set server component state. The component is hub transport. Set it to a state of draining. Set the requester to maintenance. Next, we can speed that process up by redirecting any messages in that queue to the other transport server. So we can run redirect message on our server EBCEX1, and the target will be the other server. Just provide the fully qualified domain name for the other server. Next, we will suspend the cluster node. We also want to disable database copy activation. We can then set the auto activation policy to blocked. And then finally, we can put the server into maintenance mode. And one of the results of all of those steps that we performed there is that all of the active mailbox database copies will be mounted on our other mailbox server. We can see that if we run get mailbox database copy status and have a look at just this server here, we should see no mounted databases. We should only see passive copies, hopefully in a healthy state. Okay, so there's our healthy copies, healthy content indexes, and just for comparison, we'll have a look at my other server where all of the databases are currently mounted. So we know that EBC EX1 is now fully inactive in maintenance mode, ready for that cumulative update to be installed. Now, as I recommended in the previous video, you should perform a restart of the server just to make sure there are no other pending restart operations that might interfere with the cumulative update or service pack installation. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. When we come back, we'll run the actual upgrade setup. That restart is complete. We'll go ahead and launch our elevated command prompt. Make sure that you navigate to the folder where you've extracted the setup files before you try to run setup. And we're going to run setup with the mode upgrade and also include the I accept Exchange server license term switch, which is always required for cumulative update or service pack installation. So we just wait a few moments and see that the prerequisite analysis completed successfully. And now we're into the installation itself. Now, because this is the first server I've upgraded in my organization, it's also going to do the Active Directory schema extension. So this whole process will take a little while. It really depends on how fast your test lab servers are. I'm going to leave this one for the moment and we'll come back to it when it is complete. Okay, that upgrade has completed. And even though it doesn't say so here, we do need to restart the server before we can take it out of maintenance mode. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we'll come back once the server is finished restarting. So the restart is finished, the server maintenance is complete, and we can take the server out of maintenance mode and basically put it back into production. So we need to do these steps again from the Exchange Management Shell. So we'll run set server component state, the server name, and again the component of server wide offline. Set that back to a state of active. We can also resume the cluster node. We can return our database auto activation policy back to unrestricted, if that's what it was set to originally. We also want to set the database copy activation disable and move now back to false. And set the server component state for hub transport. We'll set that back to active as well. Now at the end of all this, we would also need to rebalance the DAG, which is something we covered in an earlier lesson. But because I've got other DAG members that I'm yet to perform maintenance on, I won't do that at this time. So basically what you can do now is repeat these maintenance steps for your other DAG member and run your cumulative update or service pack update on that DAG member as well. And then when you've completed all of your maintenance on all DAG members, you can do those extra completion tasks such as rebalancing the DAG to put the active database copies back on their first activation preference. And of course, in addition to that, you'll also want to add the server back into DNS when you're using DNS round robin, or re-enable it within your load balancer server pool so that traffic can be load balanced to it again. So in this video we've covered how to deploy cumulative updates, service packs and other updates or server maintenance for our HA deployment of Exchange Server 2013. I'll add a link to an article which also has these steps laid out in writing as well for you to follow.